Welcome everybody. I am the air quotes comedian, a man who thinks it's perfectly fine to start a routine mid-sentence. Yeah, after this usual introductory bit, it just doesn't even begin. It's already going. I was going to put a beginning on it, but then I thought, why do that? It's not like anybody would actually notice. Not even after I pointed it out. And this is the Polemics. Welcome. Water cooler, co-worker friendly zeitgeist slop. But of course, nobody ever asks me what I watched this weekend. What did you watch this weekend, Mr. Air Quotes Comedian? Right, this is where the comedy starts, so, be on the lookout for that. What did you watch this weekend, Mr. Air Quotes Comedian? Now, if you've had any contact with my material before, you might have an inkling of where this is going. Let me just take that inkling and smack it upside the head, so now it's an ink plot. What did you watch this weekend, Mr. Air Quotes Comedian? Perhaps I was watching something I shouldn't have been watching. Perhaps I was watching cheaply made 1990s Japanese torture porn. Power Rangers. Oh, you never did. But what did you watch this weekend, Mr. Air Quotes Comedian? Perhaps I was watching something I shouldn't have been watching. Maybe something illegal from the dark web. Perhaps I was watching cheaply made 2010s Indian tutorial videos on how to purify fissionable materials for the culinary arts. Power Rangers. Very popular channel on the darkest, outermost reaches of the dark web. Oh, you never did. But what did you, Mr. Air Quotes Comedian, what did you watch this weekend? Sooty and Sweep, okay? I was watching Sooty and Sweep, the popular children's television hand puppet show from the telly, from the past. But it's still going. The Sooty show is still going. Not the television or the past. No, those things stopped going a long time ago, and good riddance. The piano player stops playing, the zeitgeist workers fall silent, the water cooler farts, as it does, bloop, bloop, and I turn to them and their stony faces and I say, "Izzy wizzy, let's get busy," a phrase attributed to Sooty, but of course Sooty never said it because Sooty has never said anything. He doesn't speak. Sooty just whispers in the guy's ear and then the guy helpfully repeats what he's just heard to the audience. Like a game of telephone between a fully grown adult human and the things he pretends to hear from some yellow felt fashioned in the shape of a bear. Yeah, the bit didn't have a beginning and apparently it doesn't really have an end either. It's just lazily written filler designed to pad out the runtime for a video that's being made purely for the content mill and has nothing of value to say. But while I might have nothing of value to say this time around, at least I don't need a proxy to not say it. The latest archaeological discoveries have shown incontrovertible proof that in ancient times there only used to be 3 or 4 television stations. And we'll discuss what television and television stations were in the post-routine discussion. But the important point to note is that our distant ancestors only had a few things to talk about with regard to what they saw on the television. And like I said, I will fully explain what television was later on. But compared that to today, where you have, it's just a sea of, an endless ocean of, a tsunami of stuff I'm never going to watch, am I? Viewing habits have been atomized to the point where entertainment is becoming so granular that soon you will just be able to inform an AI of what you want to watch and it will just formulate it on the spot, and this will not be an odd thing to do. Fantastic. I'm up for seeing Cholpan Kamatova reading the telephone book in her native tongue. Where do I sign up? What could possibly go wrong with so-called generative systems that can produce nothing truly novel guiding the narratives of our dream state? Well, some might argue that we're in for a deluge of AI-generated content slop. I went looking for some AI-generated content slop in amongst the regular slop. Now, The thing you have to know about slop is that when you stick your hands in that warm, goopy, slightly pulsating, semi-solid liquid, is that you really can't tell what is regular slop and what is algorithmically generated slop. I mean, I'm happy to watch a chess match between two grandmasters, but I'd be less than enthused to see two AIs playing a match, which leads me to wonder if I'm racist towards non-sentient inanimate objects. There's always been content slop, even though some would deny it. You know what I'm talking about. Old wankers like myself telling anybody who cares to listen that music was so much better however many years ago, and that what we've got now is just rubbish. That's fine, Uncle Bob, but the cream of that era has risen to the top over the decades, while the dross has washed away and been forgotten about, and you've mistaken this for something else, haven't you? See, I actually do remember the music from the 70s, 80s, and overall, you know what it was? That's right, content slop. I watched Top of the Pops week after week, and it was slop from top to bottom, populated by half-assed musical performers, hack presenters, and monsters. What's that, Sooty? Take more hardcore hallucinogenic drugs? Alright then. Despite the blitz of contents pouring out of every digital orifice, no, seriously, you can watch the latest instalment of the Fast and Furious franchise on your mum's pregnancy test. But despite all this choice with content new and old, despite this, there are some new things that are watched and discussed around the metaphorical water cooler. But I'm not interested, bloop, in any of that. I often find myself at a loss as to what to watch despite having myriad movie choices. Browsing through my own collection are movies familiar, semi-remembered, and as yet unwatched. What you gonna watch, Patrick? An accurate anticipation of a thing is better than the time wasted watching the thing itself. I mean, movies are rewatchable, but time does need to pass between viewings, I found, because familiarity breeds exempt. And you're gonna watch, Patrick? I have enough movies that some are lost to the memory hole. I know I've seen them, but I remember nothing about them until I get a memory jog, and the title alone sometimes isn't enough. I mean, Attack of the Comically Oversized Kitten? What could that be about? I'll have to look it up on the Internet Movie Database. Invariably, I'll pull up a description and I'll have the, aha, I definitely don't want to suffer through that again, moment. Yeah, I should delete the movies I don't like, but then I wouldn't have much of a movie collection. What you gonna watch, Patrick? In any collection, it is important to have stuff in there you haven't seen yet, or read, or heard, because the internet is transient. But physical media is forever, but terms and conditions apply and are not limited to physical media not lasting forever. Now, the trouble with watching something new is that I either have some idea of what it's about and have kind of seen it in my head, like some demented precognitive, or I don't know anything about it, and by the time I get to sitting down with my meal, I'm not interested in watching mystery meat. To recap then, I don't want to watch something good that I've seen before relatively recently. I don't want to watch that second-rate genre flick that was so ineffective at establishing itself in my memory that I had to look it up on the internet to remember why I hated it. And anything new is right out because familiarity is parity. So what am I going to watch? I could start watching a television show, I suppose. I just have to pick one that isn't a bit boring at first, but gets good later on, as proselytized to me by the sort of people who are bamboozled by reality television. I'm aware of how this routine has been, dear viewer, but I assure you that starting right now, it is going to improve drastically.